नमस्कार दोस्तों, स्वागत है आपका और हमारा YouTube चैनल नर्सिंग कैरियर क्लब में। हमें आशा है कि आपने हमारा पिछला वीडियो जरूर देखा होगा। यदि किसी कारणवश नहीं देख पाए हैं तो दिए गए डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स के लिंक में क्लिक करें और ज़रूर देखें। हमें आशा है कि आपको हमारा वीडियो पसंद ज़रूर आएगा। अगर आपको हमारा वीडियो पसंद आता है तो आप इसे लाइक, सब्सक्राइब एवं शेयर जरूर करें। तो आइए आज हम डिस्कस करते हैं बीएससी नर्सिंग 4th ईयर के सब्जेक्ट मिडवाइफरी एंड ऑब्स्टेट्रिकल नर्सिंग के चैप्टर 11 का नाम है फार्माकोथेराप्यूटिक्स इन ऑब्स्टेट्रिक्स। तो इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स निम्न प्रकार है। पहला ऑब्जेक्टिव्स introduce drugs used in obstetrics, which is discussed in slide number 4. Second objective is enlist the drug categories, which is discussed in slide number 5. Next is explain about oxytocin drugs, which is discussed in slide number 6. And next is explain about misoprostol drugs, which is described in slide number 36. Now let's start our topic with introduction. So we are talking about obstetrical drugs. So obstetrical drugs are prescribed very cautiously during pregnancy period and lactating period because of the risk involved to the fetus and newborn. So drugs taken by a mother during pregnancy can be potentially harmful to the fetus. So it should be according to the prescription of the doctors. Without prescriptions, pregnant and lactating women are contraindicated for any drugs. Now let's see our drug categories. So first obstetrical drugs is oxytocin, and second is misoprostols, which is commonly used during the pregnancy period or during the obstetrical period. Now let's see about oxytocin drugs. So oxytocin drugs are drugs of varying chemical nature that have power to excite contractions of uterine muscles. So its main action is to contract the uterine muscles. So it is used for exciting the contraction of uterine muscles, and it has also got some classification, which includes first oxytocin, second ergot derivatives, and third is prostaglandins. Now let's discuss these three classification individually. So first let's see about oxytocin. So if we talk about pharmacology, then oxytocin is a non-apoptide and it is synthesized in the supraoptic and periventricular nuclei of the hypothalamus by nerve axons, and it is transported from the hypothalamus to the posterior pituitary, where it is stored and eventually released. So it is all about pharmacology. Now let's see about duration of action. So if you talk about duration of action, then its duration of action is approximately 20 minutes. And now let's see about mode of action. So if we talk about mode of action, then myometrial oxytocin receptor concentration increases maximum during labor. Amniotic acts through receptor and voltage mediated calcium channels to initiate myometrial contractions. It stimulates contractions of the uterine smooth muscles during gestation and causes milk ejection after childbirth. Now let's see about preparations used. So first is synthetic oxytocin, that is 5 international units per ml pitocin. For example, pitocin. And second we see synthometrine, which is also called Sandoz, and for this we can take the example of synthocinone and ergometrine 0.5 mg. Third is desamino-oxytocin, and fourth is oxytocin nasal solutions containing 40 units. Now, let's see about effectiveness. So, for first trimester, it has got no effect. In second trimester, it is also supplement for abortifacient agent in induction of labor. And in third trimester, in later month of pregnancy and labor, the uterus is highly sensitive to oxytocin. So let's see our practice question number 1. So our question is, oxytocics are drug that first option is increases contraction, second option is decreases contraction, and third option is does not have effect on contraction. So our answer is first, increases contraction. As we had already discussed in slide number 6 that oxytocics are the drug that increases contraction of the uterine muscles. Now let's see about indications. So if we talk about indications of oxytocin, then we can see therapeutic indication and diagnostic indication. So let's discuss both of these individually. So our first is therapeutic indication. So it includes during pregnancy. Pregnancy is also divided into early and late pregnancy. So we can see the indication during early pregnancy. So during early pregnancy, its indication is to accelerate abortion. Second indication is to stop bleeding following evacuation of the uterus. Third indication is to expel hydatidiform mole. Hydatidiform mole is an abnormal condition, and this oxytocin is used to expel hydatidiform mole. Now let's see about late indications. So late indication is to induce labor, to ripen the cervix before inductions. Now let's see about indication during labor. So first indication is initiation of labor. Second is augmentation of the labor. Third, uterine inertia. Fourth, inactive management of third stage of labor. Next, following expulsion of placenta. Now let's see about indication during puerperium period. So during puerperium period, it is used to minimize blood loss and to control postpartum hemorrhage. Now let's see about diagnostic indication. These all indications are therapeutic indication. Now let's see about diagnostic indication. So for diagnostic indication, first is oxytocin challenge test. Second is oxytocin sensitivity test. Now let's see about methods of administration. So first, controlled intravenous infusion, which includes first for induction of labor, for augmentation of labor, and second is intramuscular injection. Intramuscular injection is used 0.5 to 2 milliunits per minute. Now let's see about nursing management. So nursing management, first is assessment of the client, like any abnormal conditions like cephalopelvic disproportion, or second thing we can see is that right dose should be given according to the prescription of the doctors. And next thing is do not leave patient alone. Next, check uterine response every 15 to 30 minutes. Next, check the fetal heart rate every 15 to 30 minutes. Next is check a mother's blood pressure, and also check for urinary output less than 20 ml per minute, and check progress of labor. Now let's see about indication to stop infusion. So what all are the condition when we need to stop the infusion of oxytocin? So first indication to stop infusion is abnormal uterine contraction. If there will be the present of abnormal uterine contraction, then we need to stop infusion. Second thing is fetal distress. If fetal distress has been observed, then we need to stop infusion. And third is maternal adduction. If maternal adduction is present, then in this condition also we need to stop the infusion. Now let's see about contraindication of drugs, oxytocins. So first is grand multipara. If there is condition of grand multipara, then in this case we cannot administer oxytocin. Second thing is contracted pelvis. Next, previous lower section, cesarean section. Next, malpresentation. Next, obstructed labor. Next, hypovolemic state. Next, cardiac disease. So these all are the condition in which we cannot give oxytocin, or this oxytocin is contraindicated in these conditions. Now let's see about dangers of oxytocin. So if we talk about dangers of oxytocin, then there will be dangers to both mother and fetus. So if we talk about maternal dangers, then there are some conditions like first uterine hyperstimulation, second uterine rupture, third hypotension, and fourth antidiuresis. And if we talk about fetal dangers, then we can have fetal distress. So this was about oxytocin. Now let's see about our second oxytocics, that is ergot derivatives. So ergot derivatives also include two classification, which is ergometrin and metharzine. So if you see about chemistry, then ergometrin is an alkaloid. So the alkaloids are detoxified in the liver and eliminated in the urine. Metharzine is a semi-synthetic product derived from lysergic acid. So this is all about chemistry or chemical composition of ergometrin and metharzine. So now let's see about mode of actions. So if we talk about its action, then ergometrin acts directly on the myometrium. So it excites uterine contractions, which comes so frequently one after the other with increasing intensity that the uterus passes into a state of spasm without any relaxation in between. So if we talk about its mode of action, then we can conclude that ergometrin acts directly on the myometrial layer of uterus. Now let's see about its effectiveness. So if we talk about its effectiveness, then it should not be used in the induction of abortion or labor. It is highly effective in hemostasis. Now let's see about its mode of administration. So if we talk about its mode of administration, then you can see this table which has three columns, one root, second ergometrin, and third is metharzine. So for IV, we can see 45 to 60 seconds for ergometrin, 1.5 minute for metharzine. If we talk about IM route, then 6 to 7 minutes for ergometrin and 7 minutes for metharzine. And if we talk about oral route, then 10 minutes for ergometrin and 10 minutes for metharzine. Now let's see about our practice question number 2. So our practice question number 2 is, which is not an ergot derivatives. First option is ergometrin, second option is metharzine, and third option is oxytocin. So our answer is third option, oxytocin, because ergot derivatives includes ergometrin and metharzine, which we had already discussed in slide number 21, and oxytocin are the drug of oxytocins. Now let's see about its doses. So ergometrin in ampules form we can give 0.25 mg per ml. In tablet we can give 0.125 mg, and metharzine in ampules form, we can give 0.2 mg IM, and tablets we can give 0.125 mg. Now let's see about its indications. So first indication is prophylactic. So prophylactic indication is for active management of third stage of labor. And therapeutic indication is to stop the atonic uterine bleeding following delivery. So you can see both indications, prophylactic and therapeutic. So prophylactic indication is for active management of third stage of labor, and therapeutic indication is to stop the atonic uterine bleeding following delivery. And also for abortion or expulsion of hydatidiform mole conditions. It's also its therapeutic indications. Now let's see about its contraindications. So contraindication first, let's see its prophylactic contraindications, which includes suspected pleural pregnancy, second cardiac diseases, third severe preeclampsia and eclampsia, next Rh negative mother. Now let's see about therapeutic contraindications, which includes heart disease or severe hypertension. Now let's see about its hazards. So nausea and vomiting, rise of blood pressure, gangrene of the toes, and interferes with lactation. So these all are the hazards that is related with ergot derivatives. Now let's see about prostaglandins, which is also known as PCS. So if we talk about its derivatives, then prostaglandins are the derivatives of prostanoic acid, from which they derive their name. Because of prostanoic acid, its name comes as prostaglandins. And these are group of physiologically active lipid compounds having diverse hormone-like effect in humans. Now let's see about its uses. So it is used for induction of abortion during MTP, medical termination of pregnancy. Second, termination of molar pregnancy. Third, induction of labor. Next, cervical ripening prior to induction of abortion. Next, augmentation of labor. Next, manage atonic uterus. These all are the uses of prostaglandins. Now let's see about its varieties. So its varieties are PGE2, which is also called as dinoprosine, and PGE1, which is also called as misoprostols, and PGF2A, which is also known as carboprost. So these three are its varieties. Now let's see about its contraindications. So it is contraindicated during some of the conditions like hypersensitivity to the compound, second uterine scar, next active cardiac, pulmonary, renal or hepatic diseases, or hypertension, or bronchial asthma. So now let's see about its mechanism of action. So if we talk about its mechanism of action, then PGE2 and PGF2A have got an oxytocic effect on the pregnant uterus when used in appropriate dose. PGE2 is more potent than PGF2A. PGF2A acts on the myometrium, while PGE2 acts mainly on the cervix due to its collagenollytic property. If you see about its preparations, then it comes as a vaginal tablets, that is 3 mg dinoproston, then vaginal pessary 10 mg dinopro over 24 hours, and vaginal gel, that is 500 UZ in cervical canal, 1 to 2 mg posterior fornix, and parenteral PGE2 1 mg per ml, EGF2A 5 mg per ml. So these all are the preparations of prostaglandins. Now let's say about misoprostol. Misoprostol is particularly used for cervical ripening. Its dose is 50 UZ every 3 hourly, maximum 6 doses, which may be either vaginal or rectal, and 50 UZ every 4 hours, which should be oral route. If we talk about its contraindications, then its contraindication includes absolute and relative. So absolute contraindications are hypersensitivity, asthma, acute PID, that is pelvic inflammatory disease. And if we talk about relative contraindications, then hypertension, cardiac disease, peptic ulcer. So these all are the relative contraindications. Now let's see about nursing consideration. So nursing consideration, our first thing is that we should give dorsal position and teach the patient to remain in supine position for 10 to 15 minutes. Apply prostaglandin after warming room temperature. Watch for cramps, bleeding, chills and fever, and monitor cervical dilatation, uterine contraction and fetal status. Dorsal recommend position. This position is recommended while administering prostaglandins. So our practice question number 3 is misoprostol is used for first cervical ripening, second option minimizing blood loss, and third option is increased contraction. So our answer is cervical ripening, first option. As we had already discussed in slide number 36 that misoprostol is used for cervical ripening. So this is all about obstetrical drugs that is used in obstetrical nursing. दोस्तों, हमें उम्मीद है कि आपको हमारा वीडियो पसंद आया है. अगर पसंद आया है तो इसे लाइक, सब्सक्राइब एवं शेयर जरूर करें. थैंक यू वेरी मच.